Before we begin, please note that the information provided in this video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, psychological, or financial advice. You should always consult with a qualified professional before making any significant changes to your lifestyle, health, or financial habits. Let's be honest for a second. How many times have you stood on the brink of a new year, a new month, or even just a new Monday and made a promise to yourself? This is it, you said. This is the year I finally get in shape. The year I read a book a week. The year I stopped procrastinating and launched that business. You bought the new running shoes, the stack of books, the fancy planner. You were filled with a surge of motivation so powerful you could practically taste the victory. And for 3 days, maybe a week, you were unstoppable. You were a machine. Then life happened. A stressful day at work. A rainy morning. You hit the snooze button just once. You told yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow became the next day, and soon, those brand new running shoes were just a monument to another failed attempt, gathering dust in the back of your closet. Sound familiar? If it does, you are not lazy, you are not broken, and you do not lack willpower. You've just been playing the game with the wrong rulebook. What if I told you that the reason 92% of people fail their New Year's resolutions has almost nothing to do with their motivation or their desire to change? What if I told you that willpower is a myth, a trap that sets you up for failure from day one? And what if I told you that in the next 6 weeks, you could build a system so powerful, so ingrained in your identity, that performing your good habits becomes as automatic and effortless as brushing your teeth? That's not just a promise. It's a blueprint. This isn't another video designed to pump you up with fleeting motivation that evaporates the second you click away. This is a 6-week step-by-step, tactical guide to rewiring your brain. We are going to deconstruct the science of habit formation and rebuild it from the ground up, giving you an operating system for success that you can apply to any area of your life forever. By the end of this presentation, you will have a complete, actionable plan to install any habit you want and make it last a lifetime. No more false starts. No more guilt. Just results. So where did we all go so wrong? We've been taught to think of building a habit like climbing a mountain. We stare up at the massive, intimidating peak. Running a marathon, writing a novel, saving $10,000, and we think we have to conquer it with one heroic burst of effort. We try to sprint up the sheer cliff face, fueled by nothing but raw grit. And inevitably we get exhausted, we slip, and we slide all the way back down to the bottom, feeling more defeated than when we started. But that's the wrong analogy entirely. Building a habit isn't like climbing a mountain. It's like building a skyscraper. You don't start by trying to hang the penthouse chandelier on the 100th floor. You start by digging. You go down deep into the earth, and you pour a massive, unshakable concrete foundation. You spend weeks, even months, on a part of the building that no one will ever see. It's slow, it's unglamorous, and it feels like you're making no progress at all. But without that foundation, the first strong wind would send your entire structure crashing to the ground. Our first 2 weeks together are all about pouring that foundation. We're going to focus on actions so small, so laughably easy, that you literally cannot fail. I'm talking about habits that take less than 2 minutes to complete. And I know what you're thinking. 2 minutes? How can doing something for 2 minutes change my life? That's the resistance talking. That's your old programming, the part of your brain that craves instant gratification and big, dramatic gestures. It's the part of you that's addicted to the idea of change, but terrified of the actual process. We have to learn to ignore that voice. The goal for the first week is not to get results. It's not to lose weight or write a chapter of your book. The goal is to become a master of showing up. That's it. We are forging an identity. You are not trying to run a 5K. You are becoming the type of person who puts on their running shoes and walks out the door every single day. You are not trying to write a novel. You are becoming the type of person who opens their laptop and writes one sentence every single night. This is the most critical phase. We are laying down the initial neural pathways. Think of it like cutting a path through a dense jungle with a machete. The first time you swing, it's incredibly difficult. The branches fight back. It's a struggle. The second time is slightly easier. The 100th time, there's a clear path. Your brain works the same way. Every time you perform a tiny action, you are swinging that machete, making the pathway for that habit clearer and more defined. You're not relying on willpower. You're literally changing the physical structure of your brain. So here's the challenge and the core of our entire system. We are going to fight the all or nothing mindset. This is the single greatest dream killer on the planet. It's the voice that says, If I can't go to the gym for a full hour, there's no point in going at all. Or I already ate one cookie, so I might as well eat the whole box. This binary black and white thinking is a trap. Our new mantra is this: a 1% improvement is better than a 0% improvement. Doing one push-up is infinitely better than doing 0 push-ups. Reading one page is infinitely better than reading 0 pages. Over these 6 weeks, we're going to build on this foundation layer by layer. In week 2, we'll become architects of our environment, designing our surroundings to make good habits inevitable and bad habits impossible. In week 3, we'll dive into the neuroscience of reward and learn how to hack our brain's dopamine system to make us crave our good habits. In week 4, we'll solidify our new identity, making it feel wrong not to perform the habit. In week 5, we'll learn how to break through the inevitable plateaus that stop most people in their tracks. And in week 6, we will lock it all in, automating the system so it runs on autopilot for the rest of your life. This is a proven process, grounded in decades of research from behavioral psychology and neuroscience. This is the system used by Olympic athletes, successful CEOs, and world-class performers in every field. And for the next 6 weeks, it's going to be your system. So if you're tired of the cycle, if you're done with making and breaking promises to yourself, if you are truly ready to stop wishing for a better life and start building one tiny unbreakable habit at a time, then you're in the right place. Forget everything you think you know about self-discipline. The old rulebook is officially closed. Let's begin pouring the foundation. And that foundation isn't built with willpower. It's not built with motivation or shame or brute force. Those are cheap materials. They crack under pressure. The real unshakable foundation is built with something far more powerful: understanding. Specifically, understanding the invisible architecture that runs your life. It's called the habit loop. Every single habit you have, good, bad, or neutral, follows the exact same 3-step neurological pattern. First, there's a cue. This is the trigger, the thing that tells your brain to go into automatic mode and which habit to use. Second, there's the routine. This is the behavior itself, the physical or mental action you take. And third, there's the reward. This is what satisfies the craving your brain was seeking, and it tells your brain, hey, this loop is worth remembering for the future. Cue, routine, reward. Sounds simple, almost too simple. But this simple loop is the root of why you mindlessly scroll through your phone, why you bite your nails when you're nervous, and why you automatically reach for a snack the moment you sit on the couch after a long day. Let's take your phone. The cue might be the buzz in your pocket, or it could be more subtle. It could be a moment of boredom standing in line. That's the trigger. The routine is obvious. You pull out the phone, unlock it, and start scrolling. And the reward? A little hit of novelty, a funny video, a message from a friend, a tiny unpredictable burst of dopamine that tells your brain, yes, do that again next time you're bored. Cue, routine, reward. It's happening 100 times a day without you even noticing. And this is precisely why the old rulebook fails. It's why every New Year's resolution to just stop doing something is doomed from the start. We declare war on the routine. We say, I'm going to stop eating junk food. I'm going to stop wasting time on social media. We try to use willpower to bulldoze the behavior, the middle part of the loop. But we completely ignore the cue that triggers it and the reward that drives it. You're trying to dam a river by throwing rocks in the middle, while ignoring the mountain spring it comes from and the ocean it's trying to reach. It's an exhausting, losing battle. Let me tell you about a guy named Mark. Mark had a classic problem. Every single night around 9:30 p.m., he'd find himself in the kitchen, standing in the glow of the pantry light eating cookies. Not one or two, like a whole sleeve of them. He felt terrible about it. He'd wake up feeling sluggish, guilty, and frustrated with his lack of self-control. So he did what we all do. He tried the willpower method. He'd throw the cookies out. He'd tell himself, tonight's the night. No more. He'd sit on the couch, clenching his fists, trying to white-knuckle his way through the craving. And for a night, maybe two, it would work. But the urge was still there, a screaming tension in his mind. And eventually, after a particularly stressful day at work, he'd find himself driving to the 24-hour convenience store at 10 p.m., buying more cookies, and the cycle of guilt would start all over again, only worse this time. He didn't just fail, he felt like a failure. Mark's problem wasn't a lack of willpower. His problem was that he was fighting the wrong enemy. He was fighting the cookies, the routine. So we decided to pour a real foundation. We decided to become a detective. The first step in changing any habit isn't to change it. It's to diagnose it. For 1 week, Mark had a mission. When he felt the urge for cookies, his only job was to take out a notepad and answer a few questions. He wasn't trying to resist the urge, he was just observing it. Question 1. What was the cue? He started noticing a pattern. The urge didn't just appear out of thin air. It hit him almost to the minute around 9:30 p.m., usually during the last commercial break of the show he was watching. The cue wasn't just hunger. It was a specific time, a specific place, the couch, and a specific preceding action, the TV show ending. Question 2, and this is the most important one. What was he really craving? What was the reward? This took a little more digging. He tried an experiment. One night, when the urge hit, instead of a cookie, he ate an apple. Did the urge go away? No. He still wanted the cookie. So the reward wasn't satisfying hunger. The next night, he tried something else. When the urge hit, he got up and made himself a cup of decaf coffee. He still felt that pull toward the pantry. So it wasn't about having something sweet. He thought about how he felt in that moment. He wasn't hungry. He was restless. The day was over. The structured part of his evening watching his show was over. The cookies weren't just a food. They were a transition. They were a mindless, comforting activity that gave him a little burst of pleasure and distraction before the final routine of brushing his teeth and going to bed. And that was the light bulb moment. The reward he was craving wasn't the taste of the cookie. It was a moment of mindless, easy pleasure. A way to decompress and punctuate the end of his day. The cookie was just the most efficient routine his brain had found to deliver that reward. This leads us to the golden rule of habit change, the absolute bedrock of the next 6 weeks. You can't easily eliminate an old habit, but you can change it. And the most effective way to do that is to keep the cue, deliver the reward, but insert a new routine. Let me say that again because this is the key to everything. Keep the old cue, deliver the old reward, but consciously choose a new routine. Mark's cue was still there. 9:30 p.m., end of the TV show on the couch. The reward his brain craved was still there. A moment of distraction and decompression. Now, he just needed a new vehicle to get him from the cue to the reward. So he experimented. The next night, when the 9:30 cue hit, instead of walking to the pantry, he walked to his bookshelf, picked up a guitar he hadn't played in years, and sat on a different chair, just strumming aimlessly for 10 minutes. Felt awkward. He wasn't very good. But it was distracting. It used his hands. And when he was done, he realized the intense, gnawing urge for cookies had faded. It was still there, a little whisper, but the screaming need was gone. He had successfully delivered the reward. A mindless, transitional activity, using a different routine. The night after that, he tried something else. He got up and spent 10 minutes doing a guided stretching routine he found on YouTube. Again, it broke the pattern. It occupied his mind and body. It delivered the reward of decompression. Another night, he just sat and listened to one chapter of an audiobook. Same result. He discovered it wasn't about the cookies at all. It was about having a small, self-contained ritual to close out the day. The cookies had been his default ritual. Now, he was consciously designing a better one. He didn't need a mountain of willpower to say no to the cookies anymore. He just needed a plan for what to say yes to instead. This is the foundation. Before you can build a new skyscraper in your life, you have to understand the ground you're building on. You have to become an archaeologist of your own habits. You have to see the invisible loops that dictate your actions. So for this first week, your only mission is to become a detective. Pick one habit you want to change. Just one. Don't try to change it yet. Just observe it. When you feel the pull, take a mental note. What was the cue? What just happened? Where are you? What time is it? How are you feeling? And after you complete the routine, ask yourself, what reward did I just get from that? What craving was just satisfied? This isn't about judgment. It's about data collection. Because you can't change a system you don't understand. By simply observing the loop, you begin to reclaim power over it. You are moving the process from the non-conscious, automatic part of your brain to the conscious, deliberate part. That awareness, that simple act of noticing, is the first giant leap. You're learning the blueprint of your own mind. And once you can read the blueprint, you can change it. Now, just knowing the loop is one thing. But how do you make that new routine, like Mark playing his guitar, actually stick? How do you make it so powerful and automatic that it permanently overwrites the old, destructive habit? It requires a very specific ingredient. A catalyst that forges the connection between the routine and the reward, making the new habit irresistible. And it has absolutely nothing to do with how motivated you feel. It's all about engineering a craving. This is where nearly everyone gets it wrong. They focus on the routine, on the willpower to just do the thing. But the routine is just one part of a three-step neurological loop that scientists discovered decades ago. It's called the habit loop, and it consists of a cue, a routine, and a reward. The cue is the trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode. The routine is the behavior itself. And the reward is what helps your brain figure out if this particular loop is worth remembering for the future. But the magic, the glue that holds it all together, is the craving. A craving for the reward. Without that craving, a habit never fully forms. Let me tell you a story about one of the biggest consumer product companies in the world, Procter & Gamble, and a product that was on track to become one of its biggest failures in history. In the early 1990s, their chemists developed a truly revolutionary formula. It was a colorless, odorless spray that could remove almost any bad smell from any fabric. Permanently. Think about that. Cigarette smoke in your jacket? Gone. The lingering smell of your wet dog on the couch? Vanished. The stale odor in a musty closet? Neutralized. On paper, this was a billion-dollar idea. P&G poured millions into development and marketing. They gave it a name, Febreze. They created commercials showing people spraying it on smoky bar jackets and smelly soccer gear. They sent it out to market. And it completely flopped. Sales were abysmal. The product just sat on shelves. P&G was baffled. They had a miracle product that actually worked and nobody was buying it. They were weeks away from pulling it off the market entirely. In a last-ditch effort, they sent a team of researchers and psychologists into people's homes to watch them clean and live their daily lives. Their first stop was the house of a woman who owned 9 cats. The researchers walked in and the smell was overwhelming. It was the perfect test case. This woman needed Febreze. The researchers sat down on her couch, trying not to breathe too deeply, and asked her about her cleaning routine. She described it in detail, a 30-minute daily process. But she never mentioned the cat smell. To her, it didn't exist. She had become so accustomed to it, so nose-blind, that she couldn't detect it at all. This was the first clue. The cue for using an odor eliminator is a bad smell. But if the people who needed the product the most couldn't smell the problem, there was no cue to trigger the routine of spraying Febreze. The team saw this pattern again and again. In the homes of heavy smokers, in houses with multiple dogs. The very people who should have been their best customers had no trigger to use the product. The marketing had failed because it was based on a faulty assumption about the cue. The team was about to give up. The project was a dud. But then they visited a woman in a suburb of Scottsdale, Arizona. A mother of 4. Her house was impeccably clean, almost compulsively so. There were no bad smells at all. And yet she loved Febreze. She used it every single day. The researchers were fascinated. This went against everything they had observed. They asked her to walk them through her cleaning routine. She explained that she didn't use it to get rid of bad smells. Instead, she used it as the final step in her cleaning process. After she made a bed, she would give the comforter a light spray. After she vacuumed the rug, she'd give it a quick spritz. She described it as a little finishing touch, a mini celebration for a job well done. She told the researchers, "It's nice, you know? Spraying it feels like a little reward." And that was it. That was the lightning bolt moment. The reward. The original Febreze had a fundamental problem. Its reward was the absence of something. A bad smell went away. But from a neurological standpoint, that's a terrible reward. Our brains are wired to crave tangible, immediate positive feedback. The removal of a negative isn't nearly as powerful as the introduction of a positive. There was nothing to crave. The woman in Scottsdale had, entirely on her own, hacked the habit loop. Her cue wasn't a bad smell. It was finishing a chore like making the bed. Her routine was spraying Febreze. And her reward wasn't the elimination of an odor, but the satisfying feeling of completion, symbolized by a pleasant little action. The P&G team raced back to headquarters with this insight. The solution wasn't in the product's function. It was in its reward mechanism. They needed to engineer a craving, so they went back to the lab. They didn't change the core odor-eliminating formula at all. They just added something. Perfume. They added light, clean, fresh scents to the odorless liquid. They relaunched Febreze with brand new marketing. The message was no longer about eliminating bad smells. It was about finishing your cleaning routine with a beautiful scent. Commercials now showed women spraying freshly made beds and clean carpets, smiling as the room filled with a fresh aroma. The tagline became the finishing touch for a deep-down clean. The result? Sales didn't just improve, they exploded. Within a year, Febreze was a $230 million product. Today, it's a multi-billion-dollar brand, a staple in households around the world. And it all came down to understanding one thing. For a habit to stick, the brain must crave the reward. P&G didn't sell an odor eliminator. They sold a craving for the smell of clean. That scent became the immediate, tangible reward that told your brain, "Job well done. Remember this. Do it again." This is the critical lesson for every single habit you want to build. Whether it's going to the gym, meditating, writing, or eating healthier, you can have the clearest cue and the most well-defined routine. But if there isn't a reward that your brain learns to anticipate and crave, the habit will always feel like a chore. It will always rely on willpower, and willpower is a finite resource. Think about the most common habits. Brushing your teeth. The routine isn't just about clean teeth. Toothpaste manufacturers figured this out a century ago. They added foaming agents and minty flavors like spearmint and peppermint. These ingredients don't actually make your teeth any cleaner, but they create a tingling, fresh sensation. That sensation is the reward. You begin to crave that feeling of a clean mouth. If you ever use a toothpaste without it, like a natural baking soda paste, your mouth doesn't feel clean, even if it is. The craving for the reward is what drives the habit. The same goes for your morning coffee. The cue might be waking up. The routine is brewing and drinking it. But the reward isn't just the caffeine hitting your system, which can take 20 minutes. The immediate reward is the rich aroma. The warmth of the mug in your hands, the bittersweet taste. Your brain craves that entire sensory experience, and that craving is what gets you out of bed and into the kitchen on autopilot. So the question we have to answer isn't, how do I force myself to do this thing? The question is, how do I engineer a reward so satisfying, so immediate, that my brain starts to crave the entire process? How do you attach a neurological pat on the head to the end of your desired routine? For the gym, the long-term reward is better health or looking better, but that's too far in the future. The brain needs something now. Could the reward be a delicious protein smoothie you only allow yourself after a workout? Could it be 15 minutes of guilt-free social media scrolling in the locker room? Could it be the satisfaction of tracking your workout and seeing the progress bar fill up in an app? For writing 1,000 words, the reward can't just be the distant dream of a finished book. It needs to be immediate. The satisfaction of closing your laptop knowing you hit your goal. The simple act of putting a big red X on your calendar for the day. Or maybe it's the cup of gourmet tea you brew the moment you hit your word count. This is the art and science of habit formation. It's not about being a more disciplined person. It's about being a better behavioral architect. It's about understanding this deep, primal loop in our brains and designing it to work for us, not against us. You have to find a way to make your brain want to do the hard work. You have to give it a cookie, a powerful, immediate, and consistent cookie that it can't resist. Because once that craving is locked in, the habit loop becomes a self-reinforcing automatic engine that runs on its own, no willpower required. The key is choosing the right cookie. And most people choose the wrong cookie. They choose a cookie that's stale, tasteless, and frankly unappetizing to the primal part of their brain. They say, "My reward for going to the gym will be that in 3 months, I might lose 5 pounds." Or, "My reward for meditating every day will be a general sense of calm sometime in the future." Your brain hears that and just laughs. That's not a cookie. That's a vague, distant, intellectual concept. It's like telling a dog to do a trick and promising it a steak next Tuesday. It doesn't work. The craving mechanism isn't logical. It's biological. It demands immediate payment. Think about it from your brain's perspective. It's a machine built for survival, optimized over millions of years to conserve energy. You're asking it to spend a huge amount of energy to force your body off a comfortable couch into tight-fitting clothes and out into the cold for a run. And for what? For the abstract idea of health? That's a terrible deal. Your brain will veto that transaction every single time. It will flood you with excuses, with feelings of tiredness, with sudden urgent tasks that need doing right now. It will do anything to avoid paying the high cost of effort for a low-value, delayed reward. This is where nearly every New Year's resolution dies. It's not a failure of willpower. It's a failure of reward engineering. You have to bribe your brain. You have to offer it something so good, so immediate, so satisfying, that it starts to see the effort not as a cost, but as the price of admission for a treat it genuinely wants. Let's take the classic example, building a running habit. Let's say you want to run 3 times a week. Your first attempt at a reward is, "I'll feel good about myself." Day 1 you run. It's hard. You're out of breath. Your legs hurt. You get back and you feel tired. You don't feel good about yourself yet, you just feel sore. The cookie was a lie. Day 2, your alarm goes off. Your brain remembers the pain and the exhaustion. It remembers the promised good feeling never arrived. The motivation is gone. The habit is dead before it's even born. Now let's re-engineer this with a real cookie. Powerful one. What if, after every single run, you did something you absolutely love? Something you crave? And this is critical. It's something you only allow yourself to do after you run. Maybe it's a guilt-free 30 minutes of scrolling through TikTok. Maybe it's listening to your favorite podcast while you stretch. Maybe it's a delicious, high-protein smoothie that tastes like a milkshake. Let's use the smoothie example. You buy the best ingredients. A fantastic chocolate protein powder, frozen bananas, a spoonful of peanut butter. It's a genuinely decadent treat you look forward to. Now what happens? Day 1 you run. It's still hard. But this time, the moment you walk through the door, you don't focus on the pain. You go straight to the blender. You make that incredible smoothie. You sit down and savor it. BLISS. Your brain is flooded with dopamine. It makes a simple, powerful connection. The misery of running leads directly to the pleasure of this amazing smoothie. The reward was real. It was immediate. It was tangible. Day 2, the alarm goes off. Your brain still remembers the pain of the run, but now it also remembers the intense pleasure of the smoothie. A new thought pattern emerges. Ugh, running is hard, but that smoothie. The craving for the reward starts to overpower the resistance to the routine. You get up. You run. You drink the smoothie. The connection gets stronger. The neural pathway gets thicker. This isn't just a nice idea. It's hardwired neuroscience. Your brain has a region called the nucleus accumbens, the pleasure center. When you experience something rewarding, it releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. Dopamine does 2 things. First, it gives you that feeling of pleasure and satisfaction. But more importantly, it teaches your brain. It's a chemical highlighter that says, hey, whatever we just did, do that again. That was good for our survival. When you link a difficult action to an immediate dopamine hit, you are literally training your brain on a chemical level to associate the effort with pleasure. The trick is to create a reward ritual. It can't be haphazard. It must be a non-negotiable contract with your brain. For the first few weeks, this is the most important part of the habit. The routine itself, the run, the writing, the meditation, is just the work you have to do to earn the reward. The real habit you're building is the craving for the reward. So, how do you pick your cookie? You need to create a reward menu for yourself. Take out a piece of paper and brainstorm things you genuinely enjoy. Don't judge them. This isn't about being productive. It's about being effective. Divide them into categories. Category 1. Sensory treats. A hot shower with a fancy, scented soap you only use post-workout. A high-end cup of coffee you brew right after you finish your morning writing session. That chocolate protein smoothie. The key is that it engages your senses. Category 2. Entertainment rewards. Watching one episode of that Netflix show you're binging, but only after you've done your 20 minutes of language practice. Listening to the next chapter of an audiobook, but only while you're on the treadmill. Playing a round of your favorite video game, but only after you've cleaned the kitchen. Category 3. Relaxation and comfort. A 15-minute session in a massage chair. 5 minutes of stretching in a quiet room with calming music. Reading a chapter of a fun, trashy novel. Not a business book. After you've cleared your work emails for the day. The perfect reward is something that is intensely desirable to you. Takes only a few minutes to enjoy, and happens immediately after the desired behavior. The closer the reward is to the routine, the stronger the neural link. If you wait an hour, the connection is weaker. If you wait until the end of the day, it's practically useless. But there is a crucial trap here. A mistake that can poison the entire process. You must not choose a reward that contradicts the identity you are trying to build. If your goal is to become a healthy person, your reward for going to the gym cannot be eating an entire pizza. Why? Because it sends a conflicting message to your brain. Every time you eat that pizza, you are casting a vote for the identity of an unhealthy person, which cancels out the vote you just cast by going to the gym. It creates cognitive dissonance and sabotages your long-term transformation. The reward should support the new identity, or at the very least be neutral. A protein smoothie supports the healthy person identity. Watching Netflix is neutral. A giant pizza is a step backward. Over time, something magical begins to happen. Scientists call it craving transfer. In the beginning, the dopamine spike happens when you get the reward when you taste the smoothie. But after a few repetitions, your brain gets smart. It starts to anticipate the reward. The dopamine release begins to shift earlier in the loop. Soon you'll get a small hit just from hearing the alarm because that's the cue for the run that leads to the smoothie. Then you'll start to get it when you're lacing up your shoes. And then the ultimate transfer occurs. The act of running itself starts to trigger the dopamine release. Your brain has so strongly associated the routine with the reward that the routine becomes the reward. The feeling of your feet hitting the pavement, the rhythm of your breathing, these things start to feel good in their own right. This is the end game. This is when the habit is truly forged. You no longer need the cookie, because the activity itself is a self-perpetuating loop of pleasure. You have successfully rewired your brain to enjoy the very thing you once had to force yourself to do. This is the process that turns couch potatoes into marathon runners and procrastinators into prolific writers. It's not about having more willpower. It's about being a better architect of your own reward systems. But building this automated engine is only half the battle, because even the best-built engines can break down. What happens when life gets in the way? When you get sick, or go on vacation, or have a crazy week at work and miss a day? How do you keep the entire structure from collapsing? It all comes down to one simple rule that separates the amateurs from the pros, a rule that makes your habits resilient enough to withstand the chaos of real life. And that rule is this: never miss twice. It's that simple. It's a deceptively simple idea, but it is the single most powerful principle for maintaining your habits over the long run. Anyone can have a good week. Anyone can get motivated for a few days and hit the gym, eat clean, or wake up early. But life inevitably gets in the way. Project at work explodes. Your kid gets sick. You travel for a wedding. An unexpected storm of chaos descends, and you miss a day. This is the critical moment. This is the fork in the road where most people's good intentions go to die. Because the amateur, the person who is just trying out a new habit, thinks like this: ugh, I missed yesterday. I totally blew my streak. I'm such a failure. What's the point of going today? The whole week is ruined. I'll just start again fresh on Monday. And just like that, the habit is dead. A single missed day has snowballed into a missed week, and that missed week turns into a missed month. The downward spiral is terrifyingly fast. Because the problem isn't missing once. The problem is the narrative you tell yourself after you miss. Missing once is an accident. It's an anomaly. It's a data point that life threw at you. But missing twice? That's the beginning of a new habit. Missing twice is a vote for a new identity. It's you subconsciously telling yourself, I am the kind of person who doesn't follow through. The professional, the person who builds habits that last a lifetime, understands this. Their mindset is completely different. When they miss a day, they don't panic. They don't beat themselves up. They simply recognize it for what it is, an unavoidable part of the process. And they have one singular, non-negotiable priority for the following day: get back on track. It doesn't matter if it's a perfect session. It doesn't matter if you have the same energy or enthusiasm. The goal is not to have an amazing workout. The goal is not to write a masterpiece. The goal is simply to not let one missed day become two. It's about stopping the bleeding immediately. Let's imagine two people, Sarah and Tom. Both decide to start meditating for 15 minutes every morning. For the first 10 days, they're both perfect. They haven't missed a single session. On day 11, Sarah wakes up late. Her alarm didn't go off, the kids are screaming, and she has an early meeting. She has to skip her meditation. She feels a pang of guilt. The next morning, day 12, she wakes up on time, but the memory of yesterday's failure is still fresh. She thinks, I already broke my perfect streak. I'll just skip today too and start fresh next week. She has now missed twice. She has just laid the first brick in the foundation of a new habit, the habit of not meditating. Now let's look at Tom. On day 11, he also wakes up late. Same chaotic morning, same early meeting. He has to skip his 15-minute meditation. He feels that same pang of disappointment, but his internal monologue is different. He tells himself, okay, life happened. I missed today. That's fine. My only job tomorrow is to get back on track. The next morning, day 12, he's feeling tired. He's not motivated. The last thing he wants to do is sit in silence for 15 minutes. But he remembers the rule: never miss twice. So he makes a deal with himself. I don't have to do the full 15 minutes. I'll just do 1 minute. 60 seconds. I can do that. He sits down, sets a timer for 1 minute, and he does it. What just happened here? From a productivity standpoint, Tom's 1 minute of meditation is almost meaningless. It didn't bring him enlightenment. It probably didn't even lower his stress levels. But from a habit formation standpoint, it was the most important minute of his entire month. He reaffirmed his identity. He cast a vote for being a person who meditates. He showed up. He kept the chain from breaking a second time. He stopped the downward spiral before it even began. And because of that, on day 13, getting back to his full 15 minutes will be exponentially easier. He never lost his momentum. This is the antidote to the all-or-nothing mindset that sabotages so many of us. We think that if we can't do our habit perfectly, we shouldn't do it at all. If you can't go to the gym for a full hour, you just skip it. If you can't write 1,000 words for your novel, you don't even open the document. If you can't cook a perfectly healthy meal, you order a greasy pizza. The never miss twice rule shatters this perfectionist illusion. It gives you permission to be human. It reframes the objective. On your good days, the goal is to make progress. Push yourself, hit your targets, do the full workout. But on your bad days, the goal is not progress. It's just to show up. It's to cast the vote. It's to maintain the identity. So what does this look like in practice? It means you need to define two versions of your habit: your ideal version and your I have the flu and the house is on fire version. Let's say your habit is to go for a 30-minute run every day. Your ideal version: a 30-minute run outside. Your bad day version: put on your running shoes and walk to the end of the driveway and back. That's it. It might take 60 seconds. It sounds ridiculous, but it is infinitely better than doing nothing because it preserves the habit. You still put on the shoes. You still went outside. You still cast the vote. You did not miss twice. Your habit is to write 500 words a day. Ideal version: 500 words of focused, creative work. Bad day version: open the document and write one sentence. Just one. The sun rose over the mountains. Done. You're a writer. You showed up. Your habit is to floss your teeth every night. Ideal version: floss every single tooth meticulously. Bad day version: floss one tooth. Just one. It's absurd, but it keeps you in the game. This strategy works because it separates the act of showing up from the act of performing. On the days you feel awful, you lower the bar so much that you can't possibly fail. You make it easier to do the habit than to not do it. And in doing so, you protect the most valuable asset you have in this entire journey: your consistency. Think about it like this: your habits are like a delicate plant. Every day you perform the habit, you water it. It grows stronger, its roots dig deeper. When you miss a day, the plant gets a little dry, but it's fine. It's resilient. But if you miss 2 days, 3 days, a week, the leaves start to wither, the roots pull back, and the plant dies. The never miss twice rule is your emergency watering can. It ensures your plant always has just enough life to survive until the next sunny day. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Stop chasing perfection. Start chasing consistency. Bad workouts are more important than good workouts because they prove you'll show up even when you don't feel like it. A poorly written paragraph is more important than a blank page because it proves you're a writer, not just someone who waits for inspiration. Flossing one tooth is more important than none because it proves you're a person who takes care of their health. Your only job when life knocks you down is to not stay down. Get back up the next day. Even if you just stumbled to your feet for 5 seconds before falling back down, you got up. You didn't let a mistake become a failure. You didn't let a slip become a slide. But what if you could make it even easier? What if you could make missing a day, even once, far less likely? What if you could rig the entire game so that your good habits were the path of least resistance, and your bad habits were almost impossible to do? It's not about finding more willpower or motivation. It's about architecture. It's about the invisible forces in your home, your office, and your phone that are secretly shaping every decision you make. The secret to making good habits automatic lies in designing an environment that does the hard work for you. Think of it this way. Imagine two versions of you. Version A wakes up, and the first thing they see on their nightstand is their phone, already glowing with notifications. Their running shoes are buried somewhere in the back of a closet. The kitchen counter is covered in junk mail, but a box of sugary cereal is sitting right there, front and center. For version A, the path of least resistance leads directly to scrolling social media, skipping their workout, and eating a breakfast that will cause an energy crash by 10 a.m. Every single good decision requires a monumental act of willpower. Now imagine version B. They wake up, and their phone is charging across the room, out of reach. On their nightstand is a glass of water and the book they want to read. Their running shoes and workout clothes are laid out right at the foot of their bed. In the kitchen, a bowl of fresh fruit sits where the cereal box used to be. For version B, the path of least resistance leads to hydration, reading, and exercise. The environment is actively pulling them toward their goals. Nothing else about them has changed. Not their motivation, not their discipline, only their surroundings. Which version do you think is more likely to succeed? This isn't about being lazy or weak-willed. It's about being smart. It's about recognizing that human beings are fundamentally designed to conserve energy. We will almost always choose the easiest option. The goal of environment design is to make your desired habits the easiest option available. You're not trying to force yourself to do the hard thing. You're redesigning your world so the right thing becomes the easy thing. Let's break this down into 2 simple, powerful strategies. First, increase the friction for your bad habits. And second, decrease the friction for your good habits. Let's start with increasing friction. This is about making it just a little bit harder to do the things you want to stop doing. It's about adding a step, a delay, a barrier between you and the temptation. You want to watch less television? Don't just turn it off. Unplug it from the wall. Or take the batteries out of the remote and put them in a kitchen drawer. That tiny 10-second inconvenience is often enough for your rational brain to interrupt the mindless impulse and ask, do I really want to be doing this right now? If you want to stop mindlessly snacking on junk food, the most effective strategy is simply not to have it in your house. But if that's not an option, don't leave it on the counter. Put it on the highest shelf in the pantry in an opaque container behind the canned beans. By making it invisible and inconvenient, you disrupt the automatic pattern. You're no longer one glance away from grabbing a cookie. You have to actively decide to get a chair, reach for the container and get the snack. That small amount of friction creates a moment of choice. The same applies to your digital life. If you're trying to spend less time on social media, don't rely on willpower to avoid opening the app. Delete it from your phone. Or if that feels too extreme, bury it. Move it off your home screen and into a folder on the very last page of your apps. Rename the folder something boring like Utilities. Turn off all notifications. Every single one. Each buzz, each red bubble, is a cue designed by a team of engineers to hijack your attention. By removing those cues, you take back control. You now have to consciously seek out the distraction instead of having it pushed on you. Now let's flip it. Let's talk about decreasing friction for your good habits. This is where the magic really happens. You want to pave a smooth downhill path directly to the actions you want to take. You want to make them obvious, easy, and unavoidable. Want to build a habit of flossing? Don't keep the floss in a drawer. Take it out of the package and place it right next to your toothbrush. You can't miss it. The visual cue is right there, priming you for the action. Want to practice guitar every day? Don't keep your guitar in its case in the closet. Buy a stand and put it in the middle of your living room. Every time you walk by, it will call to you. It becomes harder to ignore it than to just pick it up and play for 5 minutes. I worked with a client once, a writer named Sarah, who desperately wanted to establish a daily writing habit. For months she struggled. She'd sit on her couch with her laptop, but the TV was right there. Her phone was on the cushion next to her. The kitchen was a few feet away. She was surrounded by a minefield of distractions. She was trying to use sheer willpower to overcome an environment that was perfectly designed for procrastination. So, we performed an environmental overhaul. She took a small, unused corner of her apartment and designated it as her writing sanctuary. She put a small desk there, facing a blank wall. The only things allowed on that desk were her laptop and a notepad. Before each writing session, she would make a cup of tea, put her phone on silent in the other room, and turn on a focus app that blocked distracting websites. The result was astonishing. She went from struggling to write 200 words a day to effortlessly writing over 1,000. Nothing about her talent or her motivation changed. She simply created an environment where writing was the most obvious and easy thing to do. Her desk became a powerful cue. The moment she sat down, her brain knew. It's time to write. This is the power of a principle I call one space, one use. Our brains are masters of association. Over time, they link certain contexts with certain behaviors. If you consistently watch Netflix in bed, your brain starts to associate your bed with entertainment and alertness, not with rest. This is why so many people struggle with insomnia. Their bedroom has become a multi-purpose room, and their brain is confused about its primary function. Try to assign one primary purpose to each location in your life. Your couch is for relaxing and socializing. Your dinner table is for eating. Your office desk is for working. And your bed is only for sleeping. By creating these clear boundaries, you reduce the mental energy required to get into the right state of mind. When you sit at your desk, you'll feel more focused. When you get into bed, you'll feel sleepier. Your environment is training your brain for you. So this brings us to your task for week 4. This week, you are going to become an architect. You are going to conduct an environment audit. I want you to walk through the key spaces in your life, your bedroom, your kitchen, your living room, your office, and look at them with fresh eyes. For each room, ask yourself, what is this space encouraging me to do? Does my environment make my good habits easier or harder? Is the path of least resistance leading me toward my goals or away from them? Notice the cues. Where is your phone? Where are the snacks? Where are your running shoes? Where is that book you've been meaning to read? Be a detective in your own life. Then, do the same for your digital environment. Unlock your phone. What do you see on your home screen? Is it a collection of apps designed for consumption and distraction? Or is it a toolkit for creation and focus? Look at your computer's desktop. Is it a cluttered mess that causes stress? Or is it a clean space that promotes clarity? Your assignment is to make just 2 changes. That's it. One small change to your physical environment, and one small change to your digital environment. Don't try to redesign your entire life overnight. Just pick one thing. Maybe you move the cookie jar to a higher shelf. Maybe you put a water bottle on your nightstand. Maybe you move your social media apps into a folder. Maybe you put your guitar on a stand. Pick one thing that decreases the friction for a good habit, or one thing that increases the friction for a bad habit. The goal here isn't perfection. It's awareness. It's about taking that first step to consciously shape the invisible forces that guide your daily life. Because you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the designer of your systems. And by curating your environment, you are building a system that makes success not just possible, but probable. You're setting up a game where you are destined to win. But even the best designed game has moments where you stumble. Even the most destined winner sometimes fumbles the ball. And what happens in that moment, that single moment of imperfection, is what separates the people who build habits for a lifetime from those who give up after a week. This is the hidden battlefield where most resolutions go to die. It's not on day 1 when motivation is soaring. It's on day 5 or day 12 when life inevitably happens. Think about the classic New Year's resolution story. January 1st, you decide you're going to wake up at 5 a.m. and go for a run every single day. You buy new running shoes. You set your alarm. For a week, you're a machine. You feel incredible. You're posting pictures of the sunrise. You are the champion of your own life. Then one Tuesday your kid is sick, or you had a brutal day at work, or you just didn't sleep well. The 5 a.m. alarm goes off and you hit snooze. Just once. Then again. Before you know it, it's 6:30. The window has closed. And what's the first thought that rushes in? It's not, oh well, I'll get back to it tomorrow. No. It's a tidal wave of guilt. I failed. I knew I couldn't do it. I'm just not a morning person. I'm lazy. I've already broken the streak, so what's the point? That one missed day becomes a permission slip to miss the next day. And the day after that. By February, the running shoes are gathering dust. A monument to another failed attempt. This is the all-or-nothing mindset. The perfectionist trap. It's the belief that a single misstep invalidates the entire journey. And it is the single most destructive force in habit formation. We have to burn this idea to the ground. Your progress is not a fragile china doll that shatters at the first bump. It's more like a muscle. Missing a workout doesn't erase all the previous workouts. It's just a missed rep. The key is to get back to the next one. So how do we do that? How do we build a mindset that's resilient to the chaos of real life? We do it by shifting our focus from outcomes to identity. This is the master key. Most people start with what they want to achieve. I want to lose 20 pounds. That's an outcome. Or they focus on the process. I want to run 3 times a week. That's a process. Both are fine, but they're fragile. A much more powerful approach is to start with who you want to become. Instead of I want to lose 20 pounds, the goal becomes, I am the type of person who is healthy and active. Instead of I want to write a book, it becomes, I am a writer. Instead of I want to learn to meditate, it's, I am a calm and mindful person. Do you feel the difference? It's a fundamental shift. It's not about chasing a result. It's about inhabiting a role. Every action you take then becomes a vote for the type of person you want to be. When you choose a salad over fries, you cast a vote for I am a healthy person. When you write one page, even a bad one, you cast a vote for, I am a writer. When you get up and go for that run, you cast a vote for, I am a runner. The goal isn't to run a marathon on day one. The goal is simply to cast a vote, to reinforce your new identity. And this is where the magic happens, especially when you fail. When you miss that 5 a.m. run, the all-or-nothing mindset says, see, you're not a runner. You failed. But the identity-based mindset reframes it completely. It says, okay, runners sometimes have off days. What would a runner do tomorrow to get back on track? The failure is no longer an indictment of your character. It's simply an outlier, a piece of data that doesn't align with your core identity. A healthy person might eat a piece of cake at a birthday party, but they don't let it derail their entire identity. They just get back to eating well at the next meal. This brings us to the most practical and powerful rule for dealing with setbacks. Never miss twice. Let that sink in. It's not never miss. That's impossible. You're human. Life is messy. You will have days where you're sick or traveling or overwhelmed. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. Missing one day is an accident. Missing 2 days is the beginning of a new unwanted habit. The first miss is inevitable. The second miss is a choice. So if you miss your workout on Monday, you make a blood oath with yourself that you will do something, anything, on Tuesday. It doesn't have to be a record-breaking session. It could be a 10-minute walk. It could be 5 push-ups before bed. The point is not the intensity of the workout. The point is to cast a vote for your identity. The point is to send a clear signal to your brain. This is who I am. One slip-up doesn't change that. We're back on track. This rule is a circuit breaker for the guilt spiral. It prevents the all-or-nothing mindset from taking over. It transforms a moment of failure into an opportunity to prove your commitment. It builds resilience. Anyone can be consistent when they feel motivated. But the person who can get back on the horse the very next day after falling off? That's the person whose habits will last a lifetime. That's the person building true discipline. So for week 4, our focus shifts inward. We've designed our environment. We've made our habits small and satisfying. Now we're going to build an identity that can weather any storm. I want you to stop thinking about what you want to achieve and start thinking about who you want to become. Take your core habit, whether it's exercising, reading, or working on your side hustle, and define the identity associated with it. Don't just say, I want to go to the gym. Say, I am a strong athletic person who takes care of their body. Don't say, I want to read 20 pages a day. Say, I am a reader. I am a lifelong learner. Write this identity down. Put it somewhere you can see it every day. This is your new North Star. And then, adopt the never miss twice rule as your unbreakable law. When you inevitably have an off day, don't beat yourself up. Don't analyze it to death. Just acknowledge it and immediately shift your focus to the next day. Your only job is to get back on track. Do not let a 0 turn into a 00. That's it. That's the entire strategy. It's simple, but its effect on your long-term success is profound. You are forging a new identity one vote at a time and proving to yourself, especially on the hard days, that this is who you truly are now. You're no longer just trying. You are becoming. And that process of becoming requires evidence. It needs proof. So how do you collect this proof? How do you build a case so compelling that the jury of your own mind has no choice but to rule in your favor? You become a meticulous archivist of your own success. You create an evidence log. This isn't about spreadsheets and data analysis, not unless you want it to be. At its core, it's about making your progress visible. It's about giving yourself a tangible, undeniable record of the votes you are casting for your new identity. This is where the magic of tracking comes in. I know, tracking sounds about as exciting as filing your taxes. It sounds like a chore, but we're not going to call it that. We're going to call it what it is, building your case file. Every time you perform your habit, you don't just check a box. You submit a piece of evidence. And this simple act is one of the most powerful psychological tools we have for behavior change. There's a well-known phenomenon in psychology called the Hawthorne effect. The short version is this: the mere act of observing a behavior changes that behavior. It was discovered in the 1920s at a factory in Illinois. Researchers wanted to see if changing the lighting would improve worker productivity. So they brightened the lights and productivity went up. Great. But then, just to be sure, they dimmed the lights and productivity went up again. They changed the break times, the layout of the room, and almost every time productivity improved. They were baffled until they realized the truth. It wasn't the lights or the brakes. It was the attention. The workers knew they were being watched, measured, and observed. And simply because they were being observed, they performed better. This is exactly what happens when you start tracking your habits. You become your own researcher. The moment you decide to mark an X on a calendar every day you go for a run, you've turned on the lights in your own internal factory. You are now paying attention. This awareness, in and of itself, is a powerful motivator. It's hard to tell yourself, "Oh, I'll just skip it today," when you know you'll have to face that blank empty square on your calendar later. That empty square is a missing piece of evidence. The comedian Jerry Seinfeld famously used a version of this. His goal was to write jokes every single day. He got a giant wall calendar, and for every day he completed his task, he'd draw a big red X over that day. He said, "After a few days you'll have a chain. Just keep at it and the chain will grow longer every day. You'll like seeing that chain, especially when you get a few weeks under your belt. Your only job next is to not break the chain. Don't break the chain." It's so simple yet so profound. The power isn't in any single X. The power is in the chain. That chain is a visual representation of momentum. It's the proof staring back at you that you are who you say you are. You are a writer. You are a runner. You are a person who meditates. Look, here's the evidence. The chain doesn't lie. This visual proof also solves one of the biggest problems in habit formation: the problem of delayed gratification. Most meaningful habits have a massive delay between the action and the reward. You don't get a six-pack after one workout. You don't become fluent in Spanish after one lesson. You don't build a successful business after one day of work. Our brains, which evolved to seek immediate rewards for survival, struggle with this. We do the hard thing now for a reward that's months or years away. It's a tough sell. But tracking hacks this system. The workout itself might not give you an immediate six-pack, but making that big, satisfying X on your calendar? That's an immediate reward. Dropping a marble in a jar? That's an immediate reward. It's a small hit of dopamine, a tiny jolt of satisfaction that says, "I did it." It closes the feedback loop. You get a little prize right now for doing the right thing, which makes you far more likely to do it again tomorrow. It bridges the gap between your daily actions and your long-term ambitions. Let me tell you a story about a client of mine. We'll call him David. David wanted to save money for a down payment on a house, but he felt like it was impossible. He was a classic case of delayed gratification breakdown. The far-off dream of a house was too abstract to compete with the immediate pleasure of ordering takeout or buying a new gadget. So we set up an evidence log, but we made it physical. We got two empty glass jars. One was labeled potential, and the other progress. We filled the potential jar with 100 marbles. Each marble represented $20. His new habit was simple. Every day he managed to stick to his budget and not spend money on non-essentials. He got to move one marble from the potential jar to the progress jar. The first week he moved 5 marbles. He could see it. He could hear the satisfying clink as the marble dropped into the progress jar. It was a tiny physical representation of his future home. He started getting excited about moving the marbles. He'd find ways to save money just so he could get that little win at the end of the day. The progress jar slowly started to fill, while the potential jar slowly started to empty. He was literally watching his future being built one marble at a time. Within a year and a half, he had his down payment. The jars didn't save the money for him, but they made the process of saving rewarding in the present moment. They were his evidence log. So how do you build your own? The most important rule is to make it as easy as possible. The tracking system should not be harder than the habit itself. If you spend 20 minutes logging your 5-minute meditation, you're doing it wrong. Friction is the enemy. For some, a calendar on the wall is perfect. For others, a simple notebook or a habit tracking app on your phone works best. The medium doesn't matter. What matters is consistency and visibility. The second rule is to track the process, not the outcome. This is critical. Don't track pounds lost. Track ate a healthy meal or went to the gym. You can't directly control losing a pound on any given day, but you can always control whether you go for a walk. Tracking the process keeps your focus on what you can control, the behavior. It's about casting the vote for your identity, not about trying to force a specific result. The results will come as a byproduct of the identity you build. But what happens when life gets in the way? What happens when you get sick, or you have a crazy day at work, or you just forget? You miss a day. The chain is broken. The perfect record is shattered. For so many people, this is the end. The all-or-nothing mindset kicks in. Well, I blew it. I might as well eat this entire pizza and start again next month. This is where perfectionism becomes the enemy of progress. This is why the most important rule of tracking is the never miss twice rule. Anyone can miss once. Life is chaotic and unpredictable. You will have off days. You're human. Missing one day is an accident. It's a data point. But missing 2 days in a row? That's the beginning of a new habit. Missing twice is a choice. The never miss twice rule gives you a system for immediate recovery. It removes the guilt and self-judgment from a single slip-up and replaces it with a simple, clear directive. Get back on track immediately. Your goal is not to be perfect. Your goal is to be consistent. A single missed day doesn't erase the evidence you've already collected. It doesn't nullify the identity you've been building. Think of it like a typo in your case file. You don't throw out the entire file. You just correct it and move on. The never miss twice rule is your correction mechanism. It ensures that one rainy day doesn't wash away the entire road you've paved. So during these 6 weeks, your task is to become a diligent collector of evidence. Choose your system, a calendar, a journal, 2 jars, and make it laughably simple. Focus on tracking the action, not the result. And above all, embrace the never miss twice rule as your safety net. This visual proof will be your greatest ally when your motivation wanes, because it is not based on how you feel. It is based on what you've done. It is the undeniable truth of your commitment staring back at you. You have your identity as your North Star. You have your tiny 2-minute habits as your starting point. And now you have your evidence log, your chain of progress that proves you are on the right path. You are building a system that doesn't rely on willpower or inspiration. But there's still one major force we have to contend with. The one that can undo all our hard work without us even noticing. What happens when your environment itself is fighting against you? What happens when the world outside your head makes it nearly impossible to stick to your plan? That's when we have to stop just managing ourselves and start becoming the architects of our world. This isn't about willpower. It's about architecture. Think of it like this. If you were designing a habitat for a magnificent, powerful, but slightly lazy silverback gorilla at a zoo, how would you do it? Let's say you want this gorilla to eat more nutritious food and get more exercise. Would you stand outside the enclosure and shout motivational quotes at him? Would you show him a PowerPoint presentation on the benefits of leafy greens? Of course not. You'd know that's insane. The gorilla is going to follow the path of least resistance. He's going to do what's easy. So what do? You, the architect, would design his environment to make the right choices the easy choices. You'd place the healthy food in easily accessible spots. You'd put the sugary, less healthy treats in a puzzle feeder that requires effort to open. You'd design climbing structures that lead directly to his favorite resting spot, forcing him to get a little exercise on the way. You don't try to change the gorilla's mind. You change his world. And here's the secret we all miss. You are both the gorilla and the zookeeper. Your willpower is the gorilla, powerful but instinct-driven. Your conscious, planning mind is the zookeeper. For too long, you've been yelling at the gorilla. It's time to redesign the enclosure. The single most powerful force in habit formation is a concept called friction. Friction is anything that makes an action harder to do. Getting off the couch, finding your keys, logging into a website. These all have a tiny amount of friction. We are biologically wired to conserve energy, which means we naturally drift towards low-friction activities. This is why you can scroll on your phone for 2 hours without thinking. But the idea of driving 10 minutes to the gym feels like climbing Mount Everest. The scroll has 0 friction. The gym has tons of it. Your job as the architect of your life is to become a master of managing friction. You must ruthlessly decrease the friction for your good habits and strategically increase the friction for your bad habits. Let's make this real. Week 5 is all about becoming a friction engineer. Let's start with the good habits. Your goal is to make them so laughably easy to start that it feels harder not to do them. Want to work out in the morning? Don't just set an alarm. The night before, lay out your workout clothes, your shoes, your socks, your headphones, and fill up your water bottle. Put them right next to your bed. When you wake up, you don't have to make a dozen tiny friction-filled decisions. You just have to put on the clothes that are already waiting for you. The path of least resistance now leads to the gym. Want to eat healthier? Stop hiding the fruit in the crisper drawer like it's a state secret. Wash it, put it in a beautiful bowl, and place it right in the middle of your counter. The first thing you see when you walk into the kitchen. Meanwhile, take the junk food and put it on the highest shelf in the back inside an opaque container you have to get a step stool to reach. You haven't banned the cookies, you've just added friction. On a Tuesday night when you're feeling lazy, which are you more likely to grab? The apple you can see, or the cookies you have to go on an expedition for? Want to read more? Don't leave your book on the bookshelf with 100 others. Leave it on your pillow. When you go to bed, you literally have to physically move the book to get in. You'll have the book in your hand. The friction to start reading is almost zero. It's harder to put it down and grab your phone than it is to just open it to the bookmark and read one page. This isn't about being lazy. It's about being smart. It's about understanding your own human nature and using it to your advantage instead of fighting it. Every habit you want to build, ask yourself, how can I make this 20 seconds easier to start? That 20-second advantage is the difference between a habit that sticks and one that fails. Now let's flip it. Let's build some walls. You need to increase the friction for the habits you want to break. Stuck on your phone too much? Don't just rely on self-control. Delete the social media apps. If you really need to check them, you have to go through the friction of using the clunky web browser. It's just annoying enough that you won't do it mindlessly. Want to go a step further? Change your password to something impossible to remember, and only save it on your desktop computer. Now, to log in on your phone, you have to go to your computer, look up the password, and type it in. The friction is immense. Your mindless scrolling habit will die in days. Watching too much Netflix? Unplug the television after you use it. Don't just turn it off with the remote. Physically unplug it from the wall. Put the remote in a drawer in another room. The next time you feel the urge to binge watch a show, the idea of getting up, finding the remote, plugging the TV back in. It might be just enough friction for your brain to say, you know what? Never mind. This principle extends beyond your physical environment. We need to talk about your social environment. Jim Rohn famously said that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This isn't just a motivational quote. It's a law of social gravity. Habits are contagious. If your 4 best friends all smoke, your odds of quitting are astronomically low. If they all run marathons, your odds of being sedentary are equally low. You need to architect your social circle. This doesn't mean cutting off your old friends. It means consciously curating your time. Join a running club. Go to a workshop. Find a group, online or in person, that is centered around the habit you want to build. Surround yourself with people for whom your desired behavior is the normal behavior. Their energy, their standards, their conversations, they create a current that pulls you along. It decreases the friction of showing up because you have social accountability. And finally, there's your digital environment, the most chaotic and influential habitat of all. Your phone's home screen, your social media feeds, your email inbox. These are the environments where you spend hours every day. Are they designed for your success or for someone else's? Go through your phone. Unfollow every account that makes you feel envious, angry, or inadequate. Mute them. Block them. Your mental health is more important than their follower count. Then intentionally follow people who inspire you, who teach you, who embody the values you want to live by. Turn your Instagram feed from a source of comparison into a free mentorship program. Unsubscribe from every single marketing email that tempts you to spend money you don't have on things you don't need. Every one of them adds a tiny bit of friction to your goal of saving money. Get rid of it. You have to be the ruthless curator of the information that enters your mind. The default settings of the modern world are designed to break your focus, steal your attention, and trigger your worst impulses. You have to consciously, intentionally build your own fortress. So in week 5, your mission is simple but profound. Become the architect. Stop trying to win a battle of willpower inside your own head and start redesigning the world outside of it. Decrease the friction for your good habits. Increase the friction for your bad habits. Curate your social and digital worlds. Build an environment where your success is not just possible, but inevitable. By doing this, you are creating a system that works even when you're not motivated. A system that makes the right choice the easiest choice. You've stacked the deck so completely in your favor that you almost can't fail. But what about when you do? What about that one day when you're sick or stressed or you're traveling and the entire system collapses? What happens when, despite all your planning and architecture, you fall off the wagon? This is the moment where 99% of people give up. But it's also the moment where the truly successful separate themselves from everyone else. Because they understand the final and most critical rule of building habits that last a lifetime. And that rule is deceptively simple. It's a principle that's so straightforward you might even dismiss it at first. But it is the single most important factor that separates those who build lasting change from those who are stuck in a cycle of starting and stopping forever. The rule is this: never miss twice. That's it. That's the secret. You can miss one day. Life happens. You get sick, an emergency comes up, you're mentally and physically exhausted. A single missed day is an anomaly, a tiny blip on the radar of your long-term progress. It's an accident. But missing a second day in a row? That's not an accident. That is the beginning of a new habit. It's the first step down a slippery slope that almost always leads back to where you started. Think about it. The first time you miss your workout, you might think, oh well, I'll get back to it tomorrow. The second time you miss, your brain starts to tell a different story. It says, see? I told you this wasn't for you. You're not a gym person. You failed. That second miss validates the negative self-talk. It gives permission for a third miss and a fourth. Before you know it, the momentum you worked so hard to build over weeks has completely vanished. The habit is dead. One missed day is a mistake. 2 missed days is a choice. It's a vote for your old identity. It's you telling yourself that your old patterns are more powerful than your new intentions. And that is a devastating message to internalize. Successful people are not the ones who never fail. They're not perfect. They miss days just like everyone else. The difference is their response to failure. When they fall off the horse, they don't lie on the ground and analyze why they fell. They don't curse the horse or the saddle. They simply get back on. Immediately. The very next day. They treat that next day's habit as the single most important task on their to-do list. Because they know it's not just about one workout or one writing session or one healthy meal. It's about defending the entire system. It's about protecting the identity they are trying to build. This is where most of us go catastrophically wrong. We fall into what psychologists call the what the hell effect. You're on a strict diet and you eat one cookie. Your brain, in its all-or-nothing perfectionism, screams, "You've ruined it. The whole day is a write-off." So you think, what the hell? And you eat the entire box of cookies, promising to start again fresh on Monday. The never miss twice rule is the antidote to this self-sabotaging mindset. Eating one cookie doesn't make you unhealthy. It's the decision to eat the rest of the box that does the damage. Missing one workout doesn't derail your fitness. It's the decision to skip the rest of the week that kills your progress. The initial slip-up is never the problem. The real danger lies in how you interpret that slip-up. Do you see it as proof of failure, or simply as a data point? As a period at the end of a sentence, or as a comma? So, how do you put this into practice? You need a get back on track protocol. A simple pre-planned response for the moment you realize you've missed a day. First, forgive yourself instantly. Do not waste 1 ounce of mental energy on guilt or shame. Guilt doesn't motivate, it paralyzes. Instead of saying, "I'm such a lazy failure for skipping the gym," you say, "Okay, I missed yesterday. I'm human. Today is a new day and a new opportunity." Acknowledge it and move on. Second, make the next day's session non-negotiable. It becomes your absolute top priority. It doesn't matter if you're busy or tired. You have to show up. You are not just performing a habit. You are casting a critical vote for the person you want to become. You are sending a powerful signal to your brain that this is who you are now, even on the hard days. And third, and this is key, if you need to, shrink the habit down to its smallest possible version. The goal of the Get Back on Track Day is not to have a record-breaking performance. The goal is simply to show up and keep the chain of consistency alive. If you missed your hour-long run, just put on your shoes and run for 5 minutes. If you skipped your 30 minutes of reading, just read 1 page. If you broke your healthy eating streak, make your very next meal a healthy one. The victory isn't in the intensity. It's in the act of starting again. You're not trying to make up for lost time. You're just trying to get the ball rolling again. Let's imagine 2 people, Sarah and Tom. Both decide to start meditating for 15 minutes every morning. For the first 10 days, they're both perfect. On day 11, they both have a chaotic morning and miss their session. Tom falls into the perfectionist trap. He feels frustrated. "I broke my streak," he thinks. The next morning, the thought of meditating feels heavy, tainted by yesterday's failure. He thinks, "I'll just start again next week." But next week never comes. His meditation cushion starts gathering dust. The habit is gone. Sarah, however, follows the never miss twice rule. On day 11, she misses and immediately tells herself, "That's okay, life happens. Tomorrow is a new day." The next morning, on day 12, she feels a little resistance. She doesn't really feel like it, but she knows how critical this day is. So she tells herself, "I don't have to do 15 minutes. I'll just do 2 minutes." She sits down, closes her eyes, and takes a few deep breaths. It's not her best session, but it doesn't matter. She showed up. She cast her vote. She kept the chain from breaking. The next day, getting back to her full 15 minutes feels effortless. Her habit is alive and well. Over the course of a year, Tom might have a dozen false starts, never building any real momentum. Sarah, on the other hand, will have built a deeply ingrained practice, not because she was perfect, but because she mastered the art of getting back on track. She understood that consistency is not about being flawless. It's about being relentless in your recovery. And that, right there, is the culmination of everything we've talked about over these past 6 weeks. This journey was never about a magic formula. It was about building a system for human behavior. A system that accounts for our flaws and our imperfections. We started by making our habits so small they were impossible to say no to. We shifted our focus from what we wanted to achieve to who we wanted to become. Building identity-based habits. We learned to be the architects of our own environment, making good habits easy and bad habits hard. We used habit stacking to link our new behaviors to existing ones, and temptation bundling to make them more attractive. We learned to automate our decisions and use commitment devices to hold ourselves accountable. And now we've added the final, most crucial piece of the puzzle. A plan for when things inevitably go wrong. The never miss twice rule. This 6-week framework is your toolkit. It's not just about building one habit. It's about developing the skill of habit formation itself. Once you have this skill, you can apply it to anything. Your health, your career, your relationships, your finances. You now have the power to consciously and deliberately design the person you want to be. The next 6 weeks of your life are going to pass by no matter what you do. The only question is, who will you be at the end of them? Will you be in the exact same spot, wishing things were different? Or will you be 6 weeks down a new path, powered by a system of small, consistent actions that are fundamentally reshaping your future? The person you will be 5 years from now is a direct result of the habits you build today. The knowledge you'll have, the health you'll enjoy, the success you'll achieve. It all comes down to the compound interest of your daily choices. This isn't just about building habits. This is about building a new you. And the work starts now.